Welcome to Disco, the podcast for the spiritually curious, the skeptically hopeful, and maybe the energetically exhausted. If you've ever said, I'm into this stuff, but also, what the hell does any of it mean? This episode is for you. Today, we're joined by our friend, Christina Trifero, a former tech professional who took the off-ramp from a successful corporate career with Silicon Valley startups turned IPO to founding her own business, Spiritual Curiosity. This is where she follows her true spiritual calling as a psychic medium, energy healer, intuitive coach, and spiritual strategist. Zach and I got a reading from Christina recently, and we were blown away by her ability to channel and connect with spirit, delivering messages that were so resonating and affirming for us. She's truly a radiating light. With Christina's help, in this episode, we'll provide a foundational starting point to your journey with us here at Disco. What is energy besides the bill we pay every month? Why do these Instagram hoes keep talking about manifesting? Is it true what the Beatles sang about? Is all we need really love? Today, we're going to crack the door open to the possibilities when it comes to these questions and grease the wheels for your own journey of spiritual discovery. This is your gentle but grounded crash course in spirituality, with full permission to bring your doubts, your emotions, and your desire to remember who the hell you really are. Buckle up, babies. It's time to disco.
Disco, the podcast.
Disco.
The podcast.
Christina, welcome.
Hi, Christina. We're so excited to talk to you today.
I'm so excited, as you can tell by my face.
So, you're a medium, you're an intuitive coach. Just tell the listeners your world. What do you do?
Yeah, I'll start with what I used to do, which is I was in tech in Silicon Valley working for startups and then helped bring them IPO. And so I pivoted quite hard in the opposite direction. Yeah. I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm an energy healer, I'm a spiritual strategist, and loving bringing community together in this work that I do. And I work one-on-one with people, with their highest selves, with their soul essence, to bring them clarity, bring them, feeling better in their body, releasing anything that's stuck that could help them on their highest path. I do workshops. I do psychic practice groups. I go on retreats where I work there and do sessions for people. So yeah, I'm a busy lady and I wouldn't have it any other way.
So you could say that you're probably, working with, what is the type of person, I guess, that you're working with? Is it like all over the place, or are you working with people that are typically like deep in their spiritual awakening, don't necessarily know how to get to that next level? Or are you working with people that are like, I don't know, I'm curious about this? Who are you typically working with?
Yeah. All I need is curiosity from you. Just a little bit of my business name is Spiritual Curiosity. And I love a skeptic. I love someone who's because they're coming to me for a reason. They're like, there might be something here. I don't really know. And it's that's all I need. But I also work on the other end of the spectrum where people have really done the stuff. They are deep in the work. They have done it all. And yeah, I'm really open to and everything in between. And the careers are vast variety, anything from actors to psychiatrists,
Sure.
it's just, yeah.
Anybody can use a psychic, some
Master
spiritual
chef,
guidance.
contestants.
Nice. Okay, well, that's perfect because we really do want to speak to the spiritual skeptic, and I think not necessarily all the time, the skeptic, the curious, the woo-woo curious, but we want to address some things, and we want to get some misconceptions out of the way, maybe talk a little bit about some things that I don't know, come up time and time again, but are confusing for people, things that we've heard. Would love to know some things that you've heard along the way, and would love from your perspective to just let's bust these misconceptions.
Okay.
So energy healing. And this is one that I actually sometimes still question. But like, is it a placebo? This is just a placebo because the placebo effect is real. And it's like,
Mm.
I'm still amazed. I've done reading on the placebo effect. There are literally pills on Amazon that are placebo pills that you can buy, and the reviews are amazing. Like the best reviews I've ever read on Amazon.
I've grown 3 inches.
Honestly, it's incredible.
That's amazing.
But energy healing, is it just a
Yeah.
placebo? Like, what
Yeah.
is healing via energy?
Look, I love a placebo. If it works, I don't care how you get there, you
Right.
know? But one thing we can all agree on is that energy exists and that there's physics at play, that nature has an intelligent wisdom through energy forces. You know, we stand on the ground and touch a tree, there's negative ions coming into our bodies. And we also agree that our body holds so much energy constantly. And with that, we can harness it to be able to help your body and bring intention and thought into the wisdom of our energetic physical bodies. I also don't believe in the term energy healing. I like to think of it as energy restoration because we're just coming back to the fact that our body knows how to heal. It knows what's up. And often our ego selves and our fear gets in the way of that. And so, really, just coming from a place of like, yeah, our body knows what to do, often
What
better than us. Yeah.
what's an example of, like, you said ego or fear gets in the way of restoration. Like, what's an example of that? Maybe from your work that you've seen.
Yeah. Well, when people, first of all, like I'm sure your audience might know, like understand that there's a lot of information about there about like mold is hurting us and, plastics and all of these things, and that's fair. But there's a way that we can get into the story and kind of get obsessed about like being perfect in our body and not trusting our body to go and process these things in that place. And so when we're like controlling and in fear and saying, my body's going to get sick. And like the truth is, it's not sick right now, right? If you're not having an actual ailment, then you're just in the future of an existence that hasn't happened, a timeline that's not true. And so if you just agree on a timeline of like, my body is going to body, things are going to hurt, things are going to happen, and also things are going to be great. And right now, today, what's like the reality of my body and how
Mm.
can I heal myself? Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I just like, because I've fallen victim, I think that we all have in this world of like information is just like everything's coming at you constantly. There's a new thing for you to be
Yeah.
afraid of every
Yeah.
single day. And
Multiple times a day.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
fixed up like me.
moments, the moment you're
World
inundating.
War III is about to start.
So that like is the most comforting thing. And it's just so nice to remember that, like, yes, our bodies can heal it. I mean, it does what it needs to do, but on top of that, like the fear and the constant worry, like it's just not like that's not doing you any good.
Yeah, that's
I
the
love that.
mind. When your mind is involved, your intelligent wisdom of the energy of your body is not involved. You almost have to separate it and be like, body, can you take care of this? Versus like, I have to take care of this for my body. That's like
Sure.
a tool to
Sure.
take away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like changing the story that you tell yourself, which is like not dissimilar from therapy. And I know coming out of our reading, you're like, stop worrying about your heart. Like, I don't know how you knew that I had been worrying about my heart. You're like, that's not going to happen to you. You're going to live a long and healthy life. And I can't tell you how many times, like, subsequently, when I would start to spiral, it's like, wait, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to live a long and healthy life. It's okay,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like
Aw.
maybe it's the placebo, but we'll see if I make it to the end of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, you have a huge heart. Like that's part of your aura and energy, Zach. Like it's so clear
Uh,
about you. And here's the thing about what you just said, that's such a distinction and how people can start to feel better is I picked up on something that I could have never known about you.
right.
And again, sure, maybe I just guessed a part of men's bodies that they typically, but that's not how it felt to you. And by me giving permission and like going past like the secret private place of you and these worries, then you start to be like, maybe something is here. And if she knew that, then maybe there's truth to my body is okay. It's
Yeah.
not me knowing, it's you having this intuition that like you knew you're going to live a long life and you're just resisting that truth. So it wasn't really about me. I was just giving you permission to feel what you deserve to feel.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it's been a blessing.
Love it.
Okay.
Misconception number 2. And
Uh-huh.
I like this one a lot because I was a big reader of The Secret when it came out. I
Mm-hmm.
was really really young. I don't know how old but I don't know,
Same.
maybe even like in middle school, but it came out and I read it and I was obsessed with it. But I hated the haters that were all like, this is, if I just like wish to have a car, like a car is going to show up in my driveway. And, like there's this misconception that like, manifesting is this thing that it's not. So I would love to hear from you, like set the story straight as it relates to manifesting, what it is and what it is not.
Yeah, I think, look, again, I read The Secret. I was like, yeah, this is totally true. I started getting random checks in the mail too. Like, I was, something was happening, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so any inroad to this work is a great start, right? Of just starting to see some proof points of something beyond our ego self, our, own thoughts and understanding. That being said, there are businesses, centered around manifesting, and there's a lot of like spiritual bypassing, I would say, around this because people get very attached to an outcome and
Mhm.
a timeline. And that sense of like control or grasping to the thing kind of misses the point of the experience of it unfolding and leaving room for places where you have blind spots. Just
Yep.
because you say you want XYZ doesn't mean that that's necessarily the best possible thing. And so the universe is so much more creative than we could ever be. And in creating an exact plan and controlling it, you've kind of missed the point. And it's also promising things where, honestly, a lot of it is focused on like material gains, and things like that. So manifest. And I will say, there's nothing wrong with having desires and being like, I want to move into this house by
Yeah.
this date. I want to get this job. I want to be in this relationship. But are you holding on to a plan, or are you feeling the energy of it in your heart of what you're
Mhm.
going to feel like when you get those things? And if you go down to the root of the feeling, then you're already living in the present moment as if it's happened.
Yep.
And then all of the beautiful unfolding can happen and you're less attached to like
Yeah.
the
Yep.
detail. Does that make
That's
sense?
Yeah, that's such an important distinction, I think.
Yeah.
Like, anytime you're grasping at something, you're actually not letting the universe just like unfold for you. Like, I
Yes.
think we've kind of tiffed over this sometimes because I'm great at sitting back and like doing nothing and letting the universe just because
Me, not so
because
much.
I trust that like it's gonna happen. Like it's always happened. I don't need to do anything. I just need to trust
Yeah.
and like and be
Mhm.
and like things will happen. Like MasterChef came out of nowhere. Like we weren't like,
Yeah.
didn't manifest that, but Michelle's
Yeah.
more of a like,
That's something I struggle with. I'm a doer. I'm somebody that like if I'm not in a day like doing XYZ, checking off the list, like I
Mhm.
feel guilt. So
Yeah.
that idea of you good things can happen
Mhm.
even if you're not like putting just like exhaustive energy into it is like really hard one for me to grasp, and one
Yeah.
that I'm working on all the time to just
Yeah.
like allow and rest and like that's okay. And actually the more that you do that, the more that trust is like being, you know, transmitted to the universe, and that
Yeah.
trust is going to be received, and that's essentially, like the worry is you're it's provide, that's all that nervous energy is just reading is one thing, and that's that
Mhm.
it's coming from a place of lack and obviously not where you want to manifest from. So yeah, something that I'm working
you
on.
sound thoroughly psychoanalyzed. It sounds like you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Just
I've done the work,
Like,
just sit
but
back.
yeah.
I need to like
Yeah.
do the work.
But I can't tell you how many people are like, I understand this from an intelligent level, and
Right.
then they're like, so I'm gonna hack it properly now that I understand I'm doing it wrong, but you're still hacking it, right?
Yes.
And the nuance again is like, I know and I trust it's gonna be okay, and I know and I trust if it all falls apart, I'll also be okay.
Yep.
And or I want this or something better. I trust in the divine timing. And true surrender is not a passive, like, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm not going to think about it. It's going to be fine. And not a very active, I'm going to obsess
Right.
about this until it happens. It's very much somewhere in between where you hold in your heart the desire and you surrender to like a peaceful place where you're just like, okay, we're going to see what happens. I have this in mind. I really want it. I'm now surrendering it, offering it to the universe to play it out how it's meant to play out.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And actually, anybody I guess listening that struggles like me and is, a checklist person is it's been helpful for me. I still have my checklist because
Mhm.
ultimately I still have like bills to pay and shit
Yeah.
like that. Like we
Yeah.
have responsibilities. But like I'll make my checklist and I do throughout the day, like I'll look at it and I'll be like, is there anything on this that I really want to do? And then I'll be like, yeah, I really want to do this right now. I want to paint my son's room. And like
Yeah.
that's what I'll do. And if I don't want to do anything on that list and I'm like, I'm exhausted, I want to sit on the couch and watch Love Island,
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna fucking do.
Yes.
So that's
I
been
love it.
like working for me. And yeah, so just a little,
That's brilliant. No, that's exactly the whole dang point for sure.
This this dovetails with myth number 3.
Uh-huh.
Like nobody's on a spiritual journey to feel worse about themselves. There is this
Mm,
misconception that it's all like kumbaya and it's all positive and happy all the time. And happiness is your end goal. And
yeah.
is that always true? Is spirituality always about feeling good?
No, spirituality is being able to be in the full range of your emotions and experience and being held in a place where there's an intimacy with that and being with yourself. Spiritual bypassing and spiritual toxicity is really like, no, 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 it's fine, it's fine. And that's an escapism and an avoidance. And that's not being embodied in your own emotions. And if you do that, then you're going to miss 50% of the point of life, which is to experience a lot of range of things that we would coin as bad feelings, but there's no morality when it comes to feelings. Grief and joy, I can't tell you how deeply they come hand in hand. The amount of like joy you can feel in really going to the depths of grief is one of my most favorite experiences. I wouldn't wish these things upon anyone, but yeah, it's not the point. And again, this is part of like the new age of spirituality that I really worry about for people because if they see other people in their expression of when it does work out or the positivity and not in their expression of like how hard it was to get there or things that are happening, you're going to crash and burn at some point. Um, yeah, because we shouldn't escape ourselves.
Yeah. Can you define quickly just spiritual bypassing? Because it's kind of connected to the next myth, I think. Like, is spiritual bypassing, for example, when I feel like I've purchased enlightenment from a white lady on Instagram, like I've gone to a retreat and like I'm good, or like I've been meditating, I haven't had a thought in 10 years. It's like, well, you might notice that's a thought. What is bypassing and yeah, and like the whole internet thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm a white lady on Instagram.
You know the
Cool, cool,
cliche.
cool. Yeah, I get it, and I certainly don't claim to be enlightened, but, yeah, there is what it is? There's a lot of preying on vulnerability, and people who are lost, and there's a lot of new age, people coming in and packaging and using fancy words to say, "I'm gonna promise you this life of free of pain." And if you do all of these things and do as I do and take these plant medicines and, follow me, then you can have it too. And I am so allergic to that. So much of what I'm put on this earth to do is be the counterculture to that and really just, again, have people experience the full range of emotions. I would hate to be considered someone that is enlightened and that you need to follow. Like, everybody is empowered to go through their own experiences. And we need a community where everybody is equal and learning from each other. And I am far from perfect. That being said, the diversity in the space is really needed and or your algorithm is your algorithm. So you actually have to take time to find diversity of what's out there and what messages are happening. And when I travel, there's just so much beautiful healing going on from people all over the world that I'm like, they're onto it. And they aren't necessarily on Instagram. One of my
Yeah.
mentors, who's my favorite, her website is in the 80s. Like you it looks like the computer. And she doesn't, but she's really speaking
Right.
from a place of I consider a real truth with no stake in the game to care. Like, yeah. So I hope that answers your question. It's just people who are, promising something really impossible. Like that's not the point of being in the human experience. You can have enlightenment in your grief, you know? And I think
Yep.
people package it like we're going to skip over all the bad parts and get right to just the good all the time. And that's
Yep.
dangerous.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's that, I guess to go back to the spiritual bypassing, that spiritual bypassing is essentially that like everything is good all the time.
Yep.
Um, there's not it's almost an excuse for having to recognize or acknowledge or go through the tough stuff because you're enlightened. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'll give you an
Okay.
example. I found this woman through a community who is considered a, influencer in this space. And her day to day she was really kind of a shitty person. And she would use God as an excuse to do shitty things and not take
Yeah.
accountability. And I've encountered that in a lot of people in these so-called spiritual circles who can't live like a real difficult moment in time, and they're like, God told me. And Aubrey Marcus says that, God has told him to open up his marriage after he said monogamy
Mm.
was the way. Like,
Yep.
dude, just literally say that you're attracted to other people and you change your mind and you
Right.
need
Hey,
validation.
we
Like,
can't
that's
Right.
we
fine.
can't we can't rip on Aubrey Marcus. He's our next guest.
Gotta go. Yeah.
Uh,
So that's, an example of just like,
yep.
just
Yep.
own it,
Totally.
God
Totally.
doesn't have
Yep.
to tell you to act shitty.
Right. Yes. Yes. Take accountability for your own
Yeah.
shittiness. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm shitty too.
Awesome. Well, let's get in to some like deeper stuff. Want to talk about some of the things that you do in your work and when you have your own clients, you're working with them through their own spiritual journey. So gonna unpack some of the things and some of like the terms too, because there are a lot of them
Mm.
out there. Spiritual bypassing being one of them. Um,
Yeah, the terminology can be hard, like alien. When I first came into this world, it's like everything's energy. That what? Like what does this mean? I
Yeah.
call it a dictionary. So yeah, let's get into, I think, and whenever possible, use examples from your own work, like, give like, what are some juicy stories that help bring these concepts to life, if anything
Oh,
comes up like that as we're talking
yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Well, uh, I guess the first thing, and some of these kind of like are tied together. So, intuition, highest self, you hear about your highest self. Um, I think, and maybe they're not tied together. I don't know. You tell me what's the difference between those two things. But like, your intuition is one thing. Is everybody intuitive? Is this like a special gift that people have? What is your highest self? Um, and what is the journey to getting to your highest self? Or do you just like graduate to your highest self and then that's where you are for until you die? Or like is this something that you have to always work on?
These are great questions. And again, caveat is like this is how I've grown to
Yeah.
understand and teach it. And I'm so open to like I can't wait to hear from your other guests on this stuff. Like we're all figuring it out together.
Totally.
But this is where I'm at today and how I understand it. So intuition is I think this is the easiest place to start with people to
Yeah.
say we can get here in understanding this together. And so the examples I like to give is there's been times, if you look back at the historical record of your life, where you're like, I knew not to do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
did it anyway. And looking back, I had a sense, and now I'm paying the price. And I just knew. But
Mm-hmm.
you, with logic, are like, but there's no way that's true. Or like, I'm just overthinking it. And like, this doesn't make sense. Or how do I explain that I know this to someone? So it's this inner wisdom within your own self of just like, I just have a feeling sometimes and I can't explain it. and I knew better. And I did it. I
Yep.
ignored it anyway.
Yep.
And so it's really tuning into like, where do you get those feelings? How are you intuitive? There's different ways people might feel it, like that gut feeling. It literally a sensation in your abdomen. Some people feel in their heart like more expanded when something feels good. Some people get like a tingle in their nose. Some people hear ringing in their ear. Like it's all different. And some people just know with no feeling or explanation. So those are different ways that people are intuitive. So if you can start by like grounding people in like, where are you in this process? That really starts to be like, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm intuitive. Or I know someone who's like crazy intuitive. You know, so that's it. Also with parents, they know when their kids like hurt, right? Or
Yep.
about to wake up, or, when someone's about to call sometimes and the phone rings, there's lots of examples of the ways that you are. So I think that's the best place to start.
Yep.
Now, your highest self is a little, and then we go to like, okay, so then who's kind of guiding you now that you have this intuitive information? Like, what do you do with it? Right.
Where's
And
it
how
coming
do
from?
where's it coming from? And also, like, how do I align with my intuition to taking steps towards the best path, knowing what I feel I know? And I talk about the highest self and the soul as the part of you that I communicate with that is on the best timeline for your best good. That's why I don't do doomsday readings, because I'm not interested in the other parts that come up. One of my favorite ways to look at this and where you access your highest self is there's this concept called IFS, internal family systems. And it says that we all have parts existing within us. There's a little inner child people know about. There's like a perfectionist part. There's an authoritative punisher who tells you you did bad if you fail. Well, these are not they're all wonderful parts and they've helped us survive, but they are not our highest self. Our highest self is the one that sort of has space and love for all these parts and kind of says, all right, like maybe we don't have to act from your part. Like, can I drive, and you guys be passengers in this? And so it's really identifying it. A lot of people say that it's in their heart space, where they feel gratitude and love. And it's just this calm, peaceful knowing where you're like, I think I'm okay, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
That reminds me of, I mean, it's literally Inside Out, the movie. Have you
yes,
seen Inside Out?
yes,
And it's like,
exactly.
there
Yeah.
needs to be a highest self character. This needs to be a thing. I don't like this is the last character of the Inside Out movie
Hold on. Let
is
me
your
call
highest
Pixar.
self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my highest self understands, but me right now does
Yeah.
not still. So like
Yeah.
timelines, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's not a better, and like what is the
Um,
relationship? What is the relationship of my
okay.
highest self to me
Yeah.
right
Okay.
now, sitting here?
So all the options that you have available to make choices and creating your life's path. So we're making choices all of the time. And sometimes we're making choices from fear. Sometimes we're making choices from hope. Sometimes we're making, we just don't know. When I talk about timelines, I very much believe, and if anyone's tells you differently in the spiritual space, there is no book of fate. We have free will. We can unfold whatever we want. So if some psychic comes and tells you this too bad, this is what's happening, they
Right.
are not in integrity. The truth is that you are constantly unfolding different possibilities for your life. And over and over and over again, when you're talking to the highest self version of you, it sees the most expanded life of your dreams. And then you're able to take actions on how to get there because you have a faith in that your highest self kind of knows something. It's like a future self almost of like the best possible outcomes.
Outcome. Yep. That's
Yeah.
how I understand it too. Like literally, if like everything in your life could have possibly just gone the most like amazing, beautiful way
Yeah.
possible, like that version of that timeline is, is the one that you want to like be attracting to your current self, like as much as possible. right?
it's really like it's a really existential position to be in because like wow, I feel a responsibility for like because for as long as humans were around, we lived the same lives as our parents and grandparents. Like it didn't
Yeah.
change. It was the same thing. You didn't have to
Yeah.
make decisions. You didn't have to think. Like everything was sort of like spelled out for you. But like, suddenly like you can be anything. You can do anything. Like I've got a higher self that's steering me to my highest timeline. Like oh my god, like like I've got to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your ego self thinking it has to be part of that process and like put the pressure, I imagine that. Yeah. That's a voice to listen to and be like, I actually name all these different parts of people. And then we get the answer of like what the name of your highest self is. And sometimes that's really helpful to be like, discerning. But this takes time. And this is why I teach it. Like, you're not supposed to understand this right away,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to go through life and have challenges and be like, what is that? Okay. Oh, that's a distinction. Oh, this is the part of me, and I literally speak to like studious Susie, and, you know, control freak Christina and, all the
Yeah.
things. So
I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
want us to think about some of these because I know that we have, those
Oh yeah.
people
Everybody does.
characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I'm gonna
Part.
I'm gonna name them.
No
We're
Bad
gonna
Parts by Richard Schwartz. That's my number one recommendation for this work. And then there's
okay.
Okay.
one for relationships too. That's super helpful where you can see your parts and how they work with each other. And so when
Amazing.
you
I
start to
love that.
identify that, then you go, if all these parts aren't me, then where is me? Where is my
Yeah.
highest self? And then you go, there it is. And
Yeah.
you start operating from that place. Yeah. But taking the pressure off because it's kicking. Your highest
Yeah.
self is always there, whether or not
Yeah.
you're tuned in and feeling it or not,
Yeah.
it's happening. So,
I
yeah.
love that. We'll link
Mhm.
those books as well.
Yeah. Please do. Yeah.
Um Amazing. Okay. So moving, I guess we talked a little bit about energy. Let's, I guess, get into it a little bit more as far as like source energy. We There's energetic hygiene. You talk about that and your work with your clients. And then two, vibration. This is just, I think, a word that like people hear if they maybe aren't super familiar with spirituality, but they're curious. It's like raise your vibration. It's just something that like somebody might hear if they're
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
listening like peripherally.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like what are on the topic of energy, how are these things related to each other? What are they exactly? Um, Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, and the relationship of source energy to higher self. We're going through the dictionary. It's getting
Okay,
good.
this is so fun. I'm having such a good time. Okay, so first of all, energetic hygiene. Before you open up to these energy vibrations or before you want to start playing in these worlds, you want to make sure that you're really grounded on earth. I don't want to take you on a meditation journey where we trip out and you feel
Yeah,
ungrounded afterwards. You
sure.
really have to be like, how can I be aware of my body in this space? What am I feeling in this moment in time? And once I have a sense of like where I am in space and time and I feel grounded and anchored here and tethered here, then you can start to discern where the other things are, right? If you're like, I know
Yeah.
who I am, I know where I am, I'm grounded. What is then everything else is an interesting thing to look at.
Mhm.
And so that's energetic hygiene. Um, when we talk about your highest self and the relationship with divine source, that was a perfect question, Zach. And I'll tell you why. If you think about your highest self being on um, a vibration we all can understand, what love feels like, what gratitude feels like, what happiness feels like, you can feel a resonance, a spaciousness in your body if you really tune into that. Once we get you tuned into the radio frequency of your highest self, and why I make sure we go into the highest self before we open up to divine, then your antenna is going boop, boop, boop. I'm on the right channel for divine source to come in and talk to you on that walkie talkie radio station. You're on the same channel. And so it's a really good way to get there versus, again, staying in lower vibrations of fear or shame. Nothing wrong with that. We can bring them on the journey, but we really want to kind of tap into that highest self to get those divine messages. And divine source you can call it metaphysics, you can call it universal intelligence of the
Mhm.
earth, you can call it God, you can call it divine source, you can call whatever you want to call it. There's generally a consensus from science to spirituality that something is at play energetically,
Right.
that we can play with and experience. So again, this is like visuals you can get into, like how to tap into that energy. And it feels like surrender of you're like, oh, I'm being held, I'm being seen by something outside of my ego self. And that's always a good place to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
It seems like so much of this, like, putting all this together, like so much of the work is figuring out what is me and like my essential,
hmm
being and what isn't. And
yeah,
so many of us are running around confused all the time of like, I
totally.
think that that's me, but it's actually not, like you
Yeah.
in your IFS, like that was the theme of finding that and like finding
hmm
your highest self, like what's left after all these other
hmm
things. And like, and
hmm
I think like that's why meditation is so valuable
Yes.
because that is really the only way to sort of like sit there and analyze just the passing of your thoughts and having that critical distance and realizing, this
Beautiful.
isn't
Yeah.
me. And yeah.
Well, that's, I think, and a perfect segue into, this inner work that consists of a lot of things. There's the grounding. Correct us if we're ever off base here, because the reason we started this is because it's just for it's our own little
Yeah,
education
you know
program
what?
we've created
Fuck the
here.
listeners. This is for us.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But we have grounding. There's meditation.
Mhm.
There's this term awakening, there's this term alignment. Through all of this, we're working through understanding our ego. That was a lot I just said. Grounding, meditation, awakening,
Yeah.
alignment,
Yeah.
ego.
It's all allowed. That's why we're
Um,
doing this podcast.
but like all of that is kind of like taking place through this like inner work. And, we talked about how we might have started with, intuition and listening to your gut, and then listening to your higher self, and maybe then connecting, with divine source. But how are we getting there? How exactly, what are the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis? What is the inner work that we're doing, to hit these steps and to hit these milestones? And obviously it looks different for everybody, but I guess in your process and in your experience, what does that look like?
First of all, knowing that it's a practice. These things can't be promised overnight, and they shouldn't,
Yep.
because it's like some of my clients say, like I'm their spiritual gym, where you just show up. The number one thing that I can say, besides like experiencing life and starting to notice, is creating pauses and awareness. And this is why meditation is really good, because you start to understand, oh, I'm the witness to these experiences and thoughts.
Mhm.
Okay, well, when you're getting triggered by a screaming child who, and you're exhausted, creating a pause and,
Amen.
yeah, creating a pause and being like, okay, what can I do in this moment? It doesn't mean how am I a bad parent and I feel guilt. It's like, okay, I felt guilt, I lashed out, and then sitting and being like, what is the next possible step that I can do from my highest self? And maybe that looks like repair, apologizing, saying, mommy and daddy have big feelings,
Mhm.
because you're gonna, as you do this work, have more feelings and more
Yeah.
awareness of your feelings. And so it's really creating pauses, throughout your life, and saying, what am I doing that's reactive? Um, how can I repair this conversation, this difficult conversation with family and friends? It's just noticing is like the number one step. Once you start to notice, then you start to spiritually problem solve, where you go, okay, well, if this isn't up to me to fix in the best way, if I'm releasing control and surrender, well, then where does it go? Who
Mhm.
is helping? What is helping? Oh, I can offer this to that universal energy and flow. And then you just become a witness to your life, and releasing that. So really, I mean, it takes people, like, that's why I work with people for 3 months just to
Mhm.
get, like, the first phase is like, where are you in your body? What is your intuition? Second phase, like, how are we practicing this? Where is your highest self coming in or getting lost? Third, how can we offer, surrender, get into giving over to the divine, your life, really, and then create art is my favorite
Yes.
place
What?
that people end, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. What kind of results are you like? Take a typical client, like a wild success story, or like, oh, this crazy thing happened. Like what is it like? If somebody works with you for 3 months, goes through this with you, what can they expect?
Yeah, they'll come in a lot of pain and discomfort and resistance to, a lot of times there's intuition of like, I know, something dramatic would be like, I know I need to leave my relationship and move like countries. they don't want that to happen. It's certainly in 3 months, that's really scary. But by the end, they're like, not only is my relationship better and I'm leaving that relationship, like it feels like peace, but like I just found my dream house. They're getting signs from ravens and crows that they asked to see that were like, and the color purple, and just like all these insane coincidences that they start to see are not coincidences. I've had people who had been healing from cancer and said that they've worked for 10 years on feeling better in their body, and they've never been able to be embodied and actually feel safe in their body before then, before this work. Um, and then, yeah, like really starting to communicate with like their spirit guides and like, ancestors, and just like trippy things where they feel safe to do that, now, and coming
And
back.
that happens
Oh, yeah.
all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
where
All the time.
people, they're communicating themselves, like without you assisting, without you being there to like channel or read, they are doing that themselves.
That
Wow.
is the goal. My whole
Okay.
thing is, how do I, in these 3 months, get you being the best psychic you possibly can be, being in your intuition, being with I want nothing to do with the process. I want to help
Sure.
witness you grow to your own intuition, and then start to communicate with your guides, and then start to see how to take action steps towards your most expansive life.
Huh.
How,
Yeah,
how
I
many
don't
rel-
want, yeah, part of it.
how many relationships would you say you've personally ended?
Me or the universe just
You're like, I'm just relaying the message.
I asked this like no, there's a reason I'm asking this question, and like we probably should have gotten this into the myth section because it's like s- obviously the world can hold us in positions that don't serve us, and we can sacrifice ourselves to be in positions, and like everyone needs to come into alignment and like
Yeah.
grow the way that they need to, and often that means endings, and like waking up and recognizing what you've
Yeah.
been doing and the situation you've been in is wrong. So there's a very natural, endings are going to fall out of this, but like a lot of this then can be like too individualistically coded, or like
Yeah.
you're not sacrificing for others, because we do have this like cultural ethic of like sacrificing for others and helping, and so like I feel a
Mhm.
tension sometimes in spirituality that like can, and
Mhm.
maybe that's a turnoff for people who are very
Yeah.
empathetic, right, to the
Yeah.
whole deal, because like, oh,
Well, and
that's too individualistic and like it's bad, so like
Yeah.
and I think too, it's funny because I was just kind of thinking this, that as a young person in, my 20s, I was very like, just lived life by my own whimsy, and I moved up, like when I got a feeling that I needed to move, and I was very detached from people. Even when I was in relationships, I had this sense of like kind of detachment, and but I just like lived like a butterfly, and I loved it. And now here I'm, how old am I?
You're in it. You're still
36.
young. You're still very young.
I'm still young, but I'm getting older, and I have a family and a
Yeah.
husband that I love and I don't want to leave. And,
Yeah, don't
you
don't
know,
take
Yeah.
her don't take her 3 month
Yeah.
class. I don't think you
Y'all
should.
are staying together.
no, no, no. But like, yeah, I guess that's an
Disclaimer.
interesting,
This
that's
is
an,
not a relationship ender. I
right,
would say
right.
that's the least common, result. What I create is space for that to possibly be true, so that they feel seen and held, and can reveal some private things that they have never been able to talk to
Right.
before. And what I actually see more often than not in relationship is them improving completely. That
Yeah.
the other partner starts to be like, "What are you drinking? I actually feel
Yeah.
safer with you." The conversation shifts. Like, I'm more interested in what happens when you do this work, and could your relationship be saved? And is there a way for you to evolve and grow together? I can't tell you how many people's partners come in and be like, "Can I have a session actually with you? Because whatever you're doing
Yeah.
with my wife is like really great." And
Yeah.
so that's like more of what I'm after. And then from that place is like, now what do I choose to do? But I would say like career changes are pretty typical.
Yeah.
Moves, like I'm having a lot of moves lately, people like going into their dream houses and spaces. Yeah, I would say those are the biggest transformation points. But it's less about the outcome and more about like, how do you deal with all the in between between point A and point B? So yeah, people
Totally.
come in like, I want to quit my job. And then I'm like, and we're off on something completely different, and then their job shifts. And so, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
what it is, I think, is just like revealing truths that people probably over the course of who knows how long, like have been
Distant.
not, yeah, distant from.
yeah,
And so that if that means that they're in an unhappy relationship with somebody, it's probably been something that's been sitting with them already. And it's just they're able to come to some truth within themselves, whether that's, a relationship or a career or whatever it is. So we know that you're you're not responsible for relationships ending.
Come
But
here when you want. No,
yeah,
and it's true. And that's the number one amazing thing that I hear from people is like, I already knew this.
yeah,
You know,
right,
I should never be saying anything that is a shock to you. I
right,
should never
right.
be directing the ship, and having
Yeah,
confirmation bias. Like,
yeah,
this is all about what you already know and then how to create the safest possible space for you to explore this at the rate of your own
right.
nervous system.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, last up, we saved the best,
Oh,
the most exciting for last. Spirit guides.
oh yeah.
What are spirit guides? Do we
What
all
are they?
Yeah.
Arc?
Okay, any scientists listening, please tell me because this is crazy. I don't know how to I just experience it and I just want someone to study my brain because it's crazy. Spirit guides I consider like ancestors, like loved ones who've passed away. People know that. It can be, animal spirit guides that people see often and they just feel like a kinship with, or they feel like they can really talk to their dog. Um, it can be a spirit baby, like a baby that maybe someone has lost or that has not come into a body yet. It could be people who've lived on the land of your home
Mhm.
before. I've seen a lot. It could be the energy of your house actually is its own spirit guide.
Hmm.
And so there's lots of places that we can all agree that there are messages and energies that continue, and there's a way to communicate with that other realm world in a way that gives you, again, if you're doing it with energetic hygiene, information for your highest good, you know? Um, Culturally haunting is really scary. People are like, I don't want that. Well, you're actually in control of like the
Yeah,
radio channel. You don't
right,
have to deal with that.
right,
I don't like when spirits come and slam the door or talk in my ear as I'm falling asleep. Like, I'm like, please stop, just knock it off. That's
right.
honestly really scary and annoying.
Yep.
And then, we find another way to get the messages through. So yeah, I would say it's like personifying or having a symbol or archetype around this energy source and the mediumship part of it that I'm like someone studying my brain. I don't know how I know what your grandpa's name was and what he looked like and the specific gift that he gave you when he passed and what he passed of and how he smelled and where he lived, like the things that I know. uh, no one's told some people have never told anyone these things before, and so it's just, and it's so specific, and so there
Mhm.
is something that is being communicated and I become a channel of like, grandpa wants you to know this, and it's usually like a lot of emotions and relief and beauty and um yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Who are your spirit guides? Do you have because this
yeah.
is right, like you have specific spirit guides. Like I have like consistent. I don't communicate with them. I don't know who they are. I would love to someday, but
Oh
I
Just
don't.
yeah.
like them.
But like we all do, and they're like consistent, right? Like we have our own consistent
Yeah.
spirit guides.
There's an unlimited amount. Like if we
Okay.
continue to work together, we just go peel through the layers. The ones that come forward the most are the ones that have messages that are most relevant to this point in time for
Sure.
you. And then there are also places of comfort that people really like. So, like, a grandma or something.
Yep.
My grandpa is one of my spirit guides. I
Okay.
actually helped him transition
Wow.
into pass, and we were communicating when he was sort of not here
Wow.
and then here. And I could tell you a crazy story about that. It just was wild.
Wow.
He shows up as a hawk. There was one time I was having a really existential crisis before I left my tech job to do this, and I actually went the wrong way, and I realized, oh, I'm going to be driving by the horseback riding ring where he used to take me every Saturday, and he would park under this tree in his old blue Oldsmobile, and he would watch me and just have the sweetest things to say after about how brave I was, and
Mm.
so I really felt I needed him. And so I go and I pull over under this tree, and I just look at this ring that has the horseback riding ring that grown over, and I hear, and I'm like, "No fucking way." And I look up, and the most beautiful hawk in the way that my grandpa comes to me every time was just
Oh.
Oh,
on that branch of that tree.
Oh.
And, again, placebo or not, their hawks
Right.
are, there. I just opened and I cracked and I cried and I felt so held and loved. And I
Yeah.
heard him specifically. The message was like, "You're okay. You always get back on the horse," he said, because he would say,
I'm gonna cry.
yeah, me too. He's the best.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, I have there was this famous like oracle here in the land that I live around right now. And when I first moved here, a book fell out of the shelf at the bookstore, and it was this woman, Mahaley Lancaster, and she was like this famous psychic oracle,
Wow.
and she was so good. She created schools for underserved children, and was really part of the community, and just really like embodied a psychic oracle that I hope to as well. And I asked her like, "Hey, give me a sign if you're meant to like guide me here." And the window started knocking on the yoga studio that I was in, and I look and
Wow.
there's nothing there, and I was like, "Okay, got it." So she's one, I can go on, but, yeah, there's lots.
Do you get a sense when you are doing a mediumship reading with somebody? Do
Yeah.
you get a sense? I mean, you had told me that a hummingbird was one of my spirit animals, right? So, like, maybe I'm
Yeah.
interpreting that as a guide. So, do you get a sense of like people's spirit guides when you sit down with them? And like, have any of you ever had an experience like, wow, what a motley crew this guy's got?
Yeah, that is what I do. I become a channel, like, my energetic hygiene is like, Christina gets out of the way, and then I just become a channel for all of your spirit guides and information available. So, yes, I see that is the mediumship part of it that is woven in of who's here to talk to you, and, um the animals that you flock to or flock to you. Yeah, there's look, I'm a spiritual extrovert. I love hanging out with spirit guides. They're all quirky and interesting and like have things to say. And I'm like, what's going on over there? Like, tell me the meaning of it all, like, but for Zach. And yeah, like it does get quirky, and again, if you're doing it in integrity and doing it right, you won't go into the realms that feel anything other than loving and supportive. And so, although I did have one woman recently where she had a huge fear of snakes, like bad phobia, paralyzed, and snakes kept showing up in her house. And she was like, "I don't want it to be my spirit guide. I hate them and I'm so scared." And we did work with them, and she's been cured
Wow.
since. She
Yeah.
hasn't had the phobia. She's tried everything. And so that's an example of like, you don't like it, but like what's here? Why does it keep coming up? How do we work?
Yeah.
Deep down, you've known all this time, snakes are
Yeah.
for you.
Snakes on a plane, man.
No, thank you.
Awesome. Well, now let's try, something. We're gonna do an AI speed round. These questions are
Oh
all from
gosh.
ChatGPT,
Oh
so
my
these are not our
god.
questions.
Yeah, don't hold us accountable for these questions.
Cut this. Who knows? Like, if you're listening to this, that
That
means
feels
it was
good.
a
Thank you.
success and we didn't cut it. So we'll see. So just like
Rapid
rapid
fire.
fire, quick. All
Oh
right.
man.
And if you don't know, just say, I don't know. Yeah, just say
Yeah.
You
pass.
need a
Bye.
buzzer. If your awakening had a theme song, your personal awakening, what would it be?
um Hope by Drama. Hope Song
Uh,
by
I,
Drama.
I don't know that song. That's unacceptable.
No,
Wow.
we're gonna find it and play it during this segment.
It's amazing.
Are there tells from people when you're reading that, oh, I'm spot on right now, or I'm way off?
um yeah, usually there's an emotional reaction when you are spot on, and then when you're way off, I would say there's like a tensing of their body, but it doesn't really deter me because a lot of times, like you said, you were like, yeah, my back's fine. Things make sense a lot later.
Sure.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
What belief or habit did you let go of that felt like taking off a tight bra? This is ChatGPT.
Oh
This
my
is not
god,
our
this
language.
is
This isn't from
amazing.
Zach personally.
Yeah. Um, that it's my responsibility to fix anybody or anything, outside of my own world, that I can love people, and yeah, that having these gifts and all of these things is not my personal responsibility outside of the container I set to do this work. And oh, what a relief to just show up in my life without it's none of my business psychically what's going on for people or how to help them unless they
This
ask.
the stuff come in at the grocery store, like that guy over there. I gotta go talk to him.
Literally. I had
That's
when
it,
I went
really?
oh my God, when I would go on dates, when I would walk out, if I drank alcohol at a bar, I got everyone just talking to me and crying and all these things that I felt like a personal responsibility to do something with these gifts. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to talk to this cute guy. I'm on a second date with grandma right now. Like, so I don't
I
want to do
mean,
this.
talk about a
Yeah.
hack for like knowing compatibility though. Like right away, like,
Well, now it's out there what I do, so I'm out of the closet. So if you're having that,
Right.
any single listeners, please.
Yeah, I think I would be
DMs
way
are
too in my
open.
head to go on a date with a medium. I would just be like, what does she think?
Are you going to read my mind? Yeah.
That's very common, but I can tell you with certainty, I shut it completely off now because I do this for a living and I can
You know
sing
how
my
to, yeah.
song. I can, yeah, I have been trained how to do that. So yeah, it's much easier now.
Do you ever get a message from spirit and say, nope, not saying that?
Yeah, all the time. Especially the way.
Give us one.
Yeah.
It's like spill the tea.
Like for someone else or for myself?
For,
Either or.
yeah, either or.
Yeah, I think sometimes when people direct me like, "Is my husband cheating?" Right? And I'll be
Sure.
like, "Okay, girl, like we need to start some way somewhere else. Like I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna." It starts to be like, zzz, and I'm like, "No, I don't show me. I don't want to know. Like I want to go somewhere
Sure.
else with this and like see what's really happening." Recently, I had an incident with my family that was pretty traumatic, and I knew. I called my mom the day before, and I was like, "Something's gonna happen tomorrow. Do you have a bad
Wow.
feeling?" And she's like, "You're fine. It's fine. It's fine." And I really didn't want
Mm.
anything to be true, but I also felt like I knew. And yeah, the next day I got the call. That's
Wow.
terrible had happened.
Wow.
So yeah,
I know we're
all
on a
good now
speed
though.
speed round, but like, and I know you
Sorry.
talk about the doomsday readings. Like, are there people that do that? Like, are there people that legit
Yeah.
like will
Yeah.
do doomsday reading?
Yeah, they'll be
That's
like, "This is how you're
wild.
gonna die. You're gonna die young. Your husband is a terrible person." Da, da, da. Like that is not. You are not working with that person's highest self. You are working with that person's lowest
Yeah.
vibration. Let's say. Yeah, and it's not responsible. There was one
No.
time where I was doing a reading and I saw this description of this woman and I was like, it's you, but it's not you. They have this color running shoes and I kept seeing her getting hit by a car and I couldn't get out of it. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, how am I going to do this? And so I said, I'm seeing this woman. She looks like this and she's a runner. Do you know her? She said, I have an identical twin sister with those shoes and she goes running all the time. I said, will you do me a favor? Just tell her not to run for the next couple of days and just pass on that message. And that was sort of the best that I can
Yeah.
do. I didn't say anything horrible. I mean, maybe it was implied, but I was just like, just if you could, And he said it very lovingly and just like, and yeah, all was good. So, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in those situations, it is kind of like, what do you, share and what do you not like? Because it would be hard to see things like
Yeah.
that and be like, I feel like,
Yeah.
do I? But to your point, like, yeah, you don't have a responsibility to save everybody, literally and figuratively.
Well, I don't have to censor myself anymore because I have a process with my spirit guides where I
Sure,
go, don't show me. It's none
sure,
of my business. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a match to the audience who needs to come. I don't
sure,
work with people in active trauma. I don't talk to someone whose son had just committed suicide a week ago and needs to talk.
sure.
Like,
Mhm.
that is not the people that I call in. And so it's really a lot easier to like not even have to censor because I'm literally like, I'm not making those decisions. I'm
Sure,
just communicating what I'm channeling and seeing. And it's like all really positive. We go
My
sure.
deep. It's hard
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like I
yeah.
shy away from like deep secrets,
Right, right.
but we're moving on pretty quickly.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
if what's your favorite thing to spiritually judge people for? Lovingly.
I think people who claim to have all this spirituality, enlightenment, and then they're just like shitty communicators, that they can't hold space for difficult conversations, for times that they were not a great friend, for avoidance. Like, I see that so much. There's so much trauma bonding in these quote unquote,
Yeah,
spiritual circles and whatever. And I've experienced that. And I judge people where I'm just like, I am not perfect. You are not perfect. This can be weird and hard and also
mhm,
like try, because you
yeah,
preach all of this like I'm wonderful and I'm such a great person and it's also like, well then let's be messy. Like
yeah.
be a person, like
Right.
it'll be okay. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's not that it really irks me.
Fair. Totally fair. Me too.
Last up. If your spirit guides had a group tattoo, what would it be, and where would they put it? And then in parentheses, again, this is ChatGPT. This is not me. We're talking matching celestial lower back ink or forehead symbols. Go wild.
Okay, this is actually hilarious and so embarrassing. So when I was really young and I couldn't define things, like what was going on for me in the spiritual world, or like I was told, talked about angels and all these things. I was like, that's what I have. I have angels. Like I get that. That makes sense
Sure.
to me. And I got on my ass a tattoo of a halo over my initials. It's a terrible tattoo. I do not recommend. Not many people have seen it, thank God. But yeah, it's there. So I think it was already chosen for me.
Wow, we had no idea how relevant that
Yeah,
was gonna
this is,
be.
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
AI knew. AI
Yeah.
conjured this.
Yeah.
Like, for you, this is why we do the speed round. Now we know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
AI is and you are psychic. And my guides are clearly being very cheeky with me, pun intended.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Damn
That's amazing.
it.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, and I guess are you okay on time right now? Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
awesome. So we talked about a lot, and we want to send our listeners to where they can find you, and we will do that. But just to round things out and where you're at, and understanding your own journey. Now, what are the things in the work that you do? How have you been changed by it? What, I guess, are the things that you are still mystified by? Are there things that you're still mystified by? What?
Are you seeking?
Yeah, what are you
What
seeking?
tree are you on? And where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm so glad you asked this because often at times, like when I am a guest, like I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm some like, perfect guru that has it figured all out. Like, oh, so cringe. Like I am very much in this work. And a lot of people who are in this work have come from a lot of trauma and suffering, and they're seeking themselves. And that's why we begin to understand it. So I am completely a work in progress. I am always seeking to be a better person, to find love and partnership that's aligned with me, to feel better in my body, to not, to be in self-worth and self-deservingness as I grow into this alignment with a new career path. Just any like toxic behaviors that I've had. I've grown so much, and I'm so proud of how much I've grown. And I also see how much more growth there is to have. I think that relationship with divine and being able to offer and surrender, I now make choices where I don't have to see any of the steps. If I have a feeling about it, instead of me being like, well, I need proof first, or I need this first thing to come in order to have it, I just leap off the ledge and I am caught. And it just speeds up the process so much easier, for me to get that, have that outcome be okay. Um, I'm mystified by aliens. Oh my God. Okay. So, here's the thing. When I'm in psychic like circles, or when I'm in mentorship, and when I got certified, every other psychic medium was like, oh yeah, we communicate with aliens all the time. I'm like, huh? I was like, I don't have that. Also weird. I don't know. It just doesn't happen for me, and I don't really want it to. And so,
Well, that's
yeah.
maybe why, it's just
Yeah,
like,
no. I'm
yeah.
please, I don't need to be abducted. Like, I get it. Like, I love thinking about the universe and how insignificant we are. And I know there's life forms, but like, do I need to? No, I'd much rather talk to like your sweet grandma or whatever, like,
Yeah.
than be visited by aliens. So I'm super mystified by that. And yeah, figuring that one out.
We're
Other people-
actually going to do an alien episode, I think, at
Right.
some point in time. We have in the town that Zach grew up in, there's like
The neighboring
the neighboring town is like a big alien.
story. There's
Yes.
I grew up in Spring Valley, Wisconsin, and like one town over is Elmwood, Wisconsin. Like these are tiny little farming towns. And like I always just thought this UFO days it was called. I always just thought it was like a small town drunk fest. Because like it was, that's what I knew it as, like in fucking Elmwood. And then my friend's like, yo, you heard
Probably was also that,
like,
but
you hear about this UFO days in Elmwood, Wisconsin? I was like, we gotta go. I was like, what? No, we're not. And so we're gonna go. And they actually have a ton of programming. It's supposed to be a UFO hotspot. spot. Like they have like
That's so
experts come and
fun.
speak. So we may try to podcast from there or something. But
This
Oh
is
my
the
gosh, you have
teaser. Stay
to.
tuned.
Yes, aliens live amongst us. No, I'm telling you, like the people who tell me their alien UFO stories, I'm like, I believe you 100% because I wouldn't believe me if I wasn't me saying I can talk to dead people. That's
Sure.
crazy. So
Sure.
I'm like, when people tell me that these things have happened, I'm like, totally believe you. I don't have that experience. I can't even fathom it, but like, yeah, great.
Or like multi-dimensional beings,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah, yeah.
get there
Yeah.
eventually. This
Yeah.
is 101.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, okay.
but
Yeah,
that's a
pull it
few
back, Christina.
comments
we
away.
gotta finish. We gotta finish 101 with like my favorite question. I think that everybody else hates except me.
Yeah.
Based upon what you've learned and like all of the channeling that you've done and all of the spiritual work that you've done, what do you now like? What the fuck is anything? Like, what do you now think? Like, happens? Are we just like, are we on this
Yeah.
reincarnation journey over and over and over to learn lessons, ultimately going somewhere? Like that kind of stuff. Like, what is the structure of reality?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Easy one.
Yeah, just answer real quick as I'm leaving. Um, I feel more peace and comfort and gratitude for having a body when I experience these entities or angels that have never had a human body. They're just like, I just wish I could experience the pleasure and the pain and the experience of like how lucky to have a body and be here on earth. And there was times in my life where I was deeply suicidal and I was like, I know death, I can just go there. Like, what a great place. And instead now I'm like, oh my God, I get to live. Like I get to just be a part of this experience and like see what's going to happen, and I'm so curious about it. And so like really now choosing that as opposed to being like I'm out of here, I think is like a huge gift that I want for everyone or anyone struggling. And this sounds so cheesy, but I feel it so deeply, especially amidst the climate and the chaos and all of the
Mhm.
things is like love.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much abundance of love, and
Yeah.
we are returning home to loving each other and the earth and appreciation and, like, that world. And it's not spiritual bypassing. Like, I feel it
Yeah.
so deeply that it is the life force in everything and everyone. And I'm so in love with people and life and all of it. So, yeah, that's
Not
it.
cheesy. It's the truth. And yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that,
Yeah.
100%.
Why
Yeah.
do you think, because you had mentioned your grandma was a psychic as well, like, right? Do I have that right? And so,
Yeah.
like, why do you think
And
your gifts came online when they did? Why not earlier, later,
yeah, I mean, they've always been there since like a young age. And back when it was my great grandmother and my grandmother, and back when they were in their times, like it was very frowned upon, and women weren't empowered to have gifts like this. It was seen as a threat to like men, honestly, and
Yeah.
their families and stuff. And
All
so,
those relationships are going to end.
yeah. and so um, and so yeah, I just like they were actually two of the first guides who came through to tell me that I need to learn about them and the history of them and what they went through, because I had this gift and I could use it in a way, and I had an opportunity in a time where they wished that they could have. And so they've been kind of helping guide me in that way. And I think too, like there's a Venn diagram of, again, like I found out that they were Jewish. I'm Ashkenazi Jewish. I had no idea. I was raised Italian Catholic, basically adopted.
Wow.
And I found out this. And so there was a lot of trauma that they went through. There was also mental health disorders where when you're really highly sensitive or neurodivergent, like there weren't systems or medication to be able to
Right.
like ground you. And so, yeah, they just seemed cuckoo bananas, I think. And that wasn't the case. There just wasn't like they didn't have the support. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of highly sensitive, intuitive people who are gifted are also suffering in a world where they don't understand like
Yeah.
what to do with their visions or their thoughts or whatever. And so
Yeah.
that's why I feel really grateful for, yeah, I'm just crazy enough. And also, I'm okay with that. I'm grounded as well. So
Well, we think you are amazing, and
I got you.
this conversation has lit me up.
Yay.
Um, Yeah, it's always great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I come into these interviews and the more, and it's like we come from like parenting our child. It's like, okay, here we have this thing. But seriously, it's just like so enlivening. And it's not long before I'm like, yep, this is why I'm here and this is why I'm doing this. So thank you for the amazing conversation, the amazing guidance. I think that you were the perfect person to um, have with us to kind of talk us through some of these basic 101s. I think that honestly, I know that we got a lot out of it, and therefore I'm sure that others will as well. So thank you so much. And I'm
Thank
sure we will talk
you.
again soon.
I'm obsessed with you and this mission, and
Yes.
my psychic skills just see it going far and helping so many people. So thank you, really, truly. And you'll appreciate I'm off to go to a disco. I'm gonna go dance to some
Yes.
EDM DJ in Atlanta outside, and yeah, I'm taking this conversation with me. So thank you.
Nice.
Amazing. Have so much fun. Please,
Thank
like, have a drink for us. I will be living through you in that moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, and when we'll get our shit together, we'll have you back and maybe do some live readings or something like that
Yes.
Yeah.
with guests. And
Yeah, I would love
yeah,
that.
this will not be the last time. And again, I just gotta echo Michelle. You were absolutely perfect. Like just like I learned so much because you're so eloquent. Like you can use metaphors and language really well to like, wrestle these concepts down in a way that people can understand. So pumped that we're starting disco with
Thank
you. So thank
you.
you. Yeah.
And your questions, great. Keep them coming. Like, I love, like, you're coming from a perfect place of like challenging, like, oh yeah, how should I explain that? Or that doesn't make sense to people. So thank you for being the perfect host and guide and creating this space. I just adore you both.
Sounds good. Well, until
Thanks,
next.
Christina.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.